So it looks like the judge in the Michael Flynn case has just been recused. Depending on which source that you check, will tell you a little bit more about it. This is CBS News, and when you read down here, it says that Judge Rudolph Contreras has recused himself. That conflicts with what Reuters reported over here by Sarah Lynch and Nathan Lane, where it says that he was recused. Did not say why he was recused. So, depending on who you ask. This is an article by the Conservative Treehouse. I don't know how I found this, but they have a take on this. It's very interesting. They kind of cover what I just covered. They were the first to point it out. But they talk about why he got recused. And here he is right here. Member of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. So these are the FISA warrants. During the Trump campaign in July of 2016, they opened an investigation into all this stuff. I guess they were surveilling Trump illegally, and I think that this is all about to pop out into the open. It's going to be bad, I think, for the government if this stuff hits mainstream understanding, because the FISA court is what they've been using as the secret court for terrorist response. So this is like a secret military court that they can get spy justification on. If you remember, Trump was saying he was getting spied on or he was wiretapped, and it turns out that they did wiretap him. Here's the information. So Flynn was going to go testify, or was going to be brought up in front of Rudolph Contreras, and now Rudolph Contreras has stepped down because there was a conflict of interest. If he signed off on this hidden warrant for surveillance and that turned out to be illegal, and that comes out during the trial, then they wouldn't get very far with Flynn. So I'm not exactly sure what this means, but it does tie back to this Peter Strok guy, who was the handler who looked for that Fusion GPS piss dossier that was it was fun reading, but it was totally made up. And here's a video they point out, and I kind of fast forwarded it. The first 2 minutes talks about this run up. You can tell James Comey is not he's not comfortable answering these questions. He kind of deflects. It's the first time I've seen someone at his level, like a director of the FBI, shrug at a question. But this is the most interesting part, I think. Listen to this.
If the open investigation began in July and the briefing of congressional leadership only occurred recently, why was there no notification prior to the past month?
I think our decision was it was a matter of such sensitivity that we wouldn't include it in the quarterly briefings.
So when you state our decision, is that your decision? Is that usually your decision what gets briefed in those quarterly updates?
No, it's usually the decision of the head of our counterintelligence division.
And just, again, to get the detailed on the record, why was the decision made not to brief senior congressional leadership until recently, when the investigation had been open since July, a very serious investigation? Why was that decision made to wait months?
Because of the sensitivity of the matter?
You can just tell how frustrated she is, like when she gets that answer from him. It was sensitive. she's talking about violating rules, where if they investigate something as part of campaigns, they need to... He's supposed to tell certain people, and he didn't. And some of those people he was supposed to tell was Congress, and he didn't tell them. So she's asking him why, and he's like, well, it was sensitive. You didn't really need to know. We were on it. So it kind of points out how these people are all connected. This Priestap guy was head of counterintelligence, and that's who James Comey was alluding to in his testimony. He was saying, I was supposed to tell this guy, but I didn't. I'm not really sure it would have mattered if he did tell him. This is the Peter Strok guy. This is the guy that was caught. He's on Mueller's investigation team, and he's the one that handled Hillary Clinton's email prosecution and proposed that she not be prosecuted. And now he's on the prosecution for Trump, going after him, and he's sending like texts and stuff that are pro-Hillary and anti-Trump, and he clearly has a conflict of interest. I don't really care if any of these people have political leanings. You're welcome to vote with whoever you'd like. I also understand that a lot of these people have relationships and friendships, which again is totally fine. I don't see a problem with that. But when it comes time to enforce the rules, it's important to enforce the rules fairly, and it's nothing personal. And I think the people that can't draw that line are corrupt. That's just my take on it. If someone in my family murdered somebody, part of me thinks that I would say I would probably hide it, but the other part of me thinks that they probably would need to stand for their crimes. We would need to have a trial. I don't know what I would do in that situation. So, like these people, when they have a gigantic conflict on the same lines of what I've just talked about, I don't know if they're corrupt or if maybe they're just under pressure to be part of the club and do what their friends want them to do, which means turning a blind eye to things that are potentially illegal. So that's it for this video. There's a lot in here to look. I think this is a giant... It says down here, it would be explosive if it turned out that the FISA warrant was gained by deception, misleading, manipulated information, or fraud, and that the warrant that led to the wiretapping and surveillance of General Flynn was authorized by the FISA court Judge Contreras, who would now be judge in Flynn's case. So I think this ties back to what I've been talking about. I think Mueller's in on it. I think the investigation is not about Trump. I think it's about something totally different, totally unrelated, and it has to do with a lot of different government corruption in a lot of different areas. And it's not going to Trump. I cannot make that any more clear. This is not going to Trump. It's not going. So if you're holding out for him to be impeached over this, you're gonna turn blue and pass out, because it's never gonna happen. It's crazy. Anyway, thanks for watching.